Today was another incredible day in the markets and we need to talk about it. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and I used to think that cat was spelled C-A-T, but just before recording this video, I found out that it's actually spelled J-E-R-K. We'll talk about it later. In the meantime, let's get right into it. Early disclaimer for you cat lovers out there. I too love the cats that I have, but man, oh man, I am just fired up at mine right now. So let's put up the chart, talk about SPY, QQQ, an update on IWM, because holy cow has that been on the move. And we'll talk about where I said it was at, where it could likely go, and where it has gone. And then we'll give a little bit of a look forward from there. BTC, Enphase, Tesla, Nvidia, and then I have a treat for you at the end of this video. So make sure that you stick around for the end of it. Without further ado, here's SPY. Near term, we are in a tiny rising wedge pattern inside of something that's a bigger rising wedge pattern inside of a rising wedge pattern. And so I'll tell you what, that is a lot of rising wedge patterns. We're near resistance in this rising wedge resistance that you see right now, going back to Tuesday of, well, 2 weeks ago already was the 2nd of July is when we started this adventure. And so those lows are catching up to the highs. And if we break down below this bottom trend line here, we could have a little bit more of a sell, but this is critical support going all the way across your screen right here, a years long support. So we're going to be on the lookout for that. I did take out a short hedge because my longs are printing big. And if you want to see those, you can join by using the link down in the description for the Patreon, join the Discord, see my buys and sells, talk to my community members. Moving right along to QQQ, where do we find ourselves at right now? Well, this looks all sorts of crowded, but I'll make it a lot better for you. It's what I'm here to do. We'll zoom out on that thing. You can see we're having some long top wicks. I'm struggling with the price action right now. Came down to almost support in this bullish channel, which is the bull channel support, which is near the 20-day simple moving average. Declining momentum on this thing, tapering volume. It is possible that we catch the bottom of this and start pushing back up. We are going to take a look at Nvidia very soon, and we'll talk about its price action and how it could impact QQQ. Plus, don't forget that we have a big tech earnings. We actually have Netflix, I believe, this week, and then more big tech next week and the week following. And then Nvidia itself is all the way middle to end of May, so we're going to be watchful for that. Now, IWM, I talked about this one. This is the Russell 2000 ETF that we're looking at here. Talked about on Thursday that we had a gap up on big volume and that we could continue up from there, that we had historic resistance 214 to 218. Look at this thing. Look at this candle that's in here. Let me stretch that out for you. So if you want to see how technical analysis works, look at that rejection that we got. We sold down still on above average volume, but didn't quite have enough that second day to get there, even though we gapped up again. And then we find ourselves in that 2014 to 2018 historic resistance. And then today we were able to push up above that. We were even able to push up above the trendline resistance that we had, that now I actually get to change this from saying trendline resistance right here in front of your eyes. We get to call that trendline support because we are up above that top trend line. And we're going to turn it from red to green even so that you can see that. There we go. Now with all these gaps, there are gaps to be filled along the way, and most likely they are going to fill probably over the next several months. But I said in the meantime, we can enjoy the ride. Now looking up to the top, 229 to 234 historic resistance. And if we put a Fibonacci extension on this, which I took away just because it starts to get a little bit crowded as we toss on more technical. So every once in a while, I just delete everything and then start from scratch, get a new take. We're not quite there right now. There's just too much good information on here. So putting this on here for us, make sure we catch the bottom there, make sure that we catch the top up here. There we go. And so that line puts us at 228.66. So right near that historic resistance, that can be very strong resistance for us. So we could have a few more percent before we get up there. This spot in here, I called a breakout area, and we'd have to get up above the next historic resistance in order to hit the next breakout area. Most likely we retrace before going through this, unless it really goes bonkers from here, but we're getting pretty overbought at this point in time. It would be nice to come down and retest this trendline support or the top of this historic resistance to continue higher. And then we also have the resistance of the all-time high for IWM right around 244 to 245. So we want to be watchful for that. If we do put in a new all-time high, the Fibonacci extension from here right now shows us at about 247 to 248. All right, so we got to keep plowing through these. There's a lot here. I hope that you like this. Pause it, go back if you need to, rewatch parts of this, write down these technicals, copy them for yourself, whatever it is that you need to do. BTC still showing bullish behavior. We broke up above the 200-day. We are now today currently up above 50-day, so that is currently support. We need a full candle close above it. We see yesterday we had excellent volume. Today we're still above average volume. We did dip down below to the 50 EMA, and now we pushed back up above, but Bitcoin doesn't stop at the end of the trading day. Bitcoin's always going. So for this one, we need to wait until tomorrow's candle to see where we close on this one, but it is good to see that buying pressure, and I still think that it is possible that we start to revisit the previous peak that we had at around 72,000. And then if we're able to retest that, then we have our shot at the all-time high of just shy of 74,000 per BTC. So be on the lookout for that we most definitely could continue to see that climb for Bitcoin in the near term. Enphase, what is Enphase doing? I'll tell you what, it came out and it got thumped in yesterday's market with a lot of other solar. I think we had news of sell-offs maybe from Solar Edge. I'd have to go ahead and look and see, but that was definitely some downward pressure for the stock. Plus, it's in the renewable energy space. And so with Trump being favored to win, that doesn't necessarily favor renewable energies. Today, Enphase opens up and the volume not as great as we would want. We had a good volume move back here, but you'll notice since that time, the volume has started to taper. So I'm going to have to update this. And here, I'll just take a tapering volume. So these moves, as long as that volume continues to taper, what you are getting from that, we'll change it from green to yellow because it's not necessarily bullish. It's not necessarily bearish. It's just less conviction in the moves. And we are near that 50-day, which we did break up above the 50-day SMA. We dropped down below it, and today we closed above it. So I'm still going to leave it as broken, but not necessarily in a confirmatory way like that we would like. We want to see a break again on strong volume, but these bottom wicks, these low bottom wicks are also bullish. RSI still up above 50, and right now kind of sideways, didn't overtake this previous peak, but if it does go higher than what we had in the previous peak for the RSI, we can continue to see price appreciation there. Keep your eyes on Enphase. Tesla. For Tesla, instead of the daily chart, let's look at the 1 hour chart, because in the daily we had high top wicks over here and here, but when you go down to the 1 hour chart on this, you can see a little bit more of the information. You can see that we're starting to consolidate, and you can see where we're bouncing off of for this trend line as well. We got the top, we got the bottom of this, and looks like we could trade here. If we break above this, then we could go most definitely higher from there. If we break down below this bottom trend line here, we could sell off further from that. So for Tesla, looks like we're looking for which part of this we're going to break out of from that consolidation pattern to tell us about future direction. I think we could continue to chop sideways in a volatile manner up until earnings next week. Nvidia, we don't have necessarily confirmation of this top trend line until we have a third touch on it. We do have more than 3 touches down here on this bottom trend line. We have broken down below it, and you can see from these bottom wicks, especially if I make this chart bigger here, there we go. From these bottom wicks, we are finding buyers around 125, pushing us back up. And then we did not get back into it today, even though on that previous close earlier today, we were up above it, fell down below. We failed to return inside of it. In a near-term sense, it is possible that we get more of a sell coming off of Nvidia. In the near term, I stay bullish on Nvidia. I'm a long-term investor in Nvidia, and I will continue to dollar cost average position, especially on price weakness. And I would like to see this back down into 2 figures to really find that load zone that's in there. Certainly as we get down near $100 per share, it starts to make sense to me in order to add a little bit on. And I think there's some nervousness coming up to big tech earnings because we want to hear about further demand for Nvidia parts and services. So that's something that's I think worrisome, and something that's affecting what we see with the rampant buying that we had for Nvidia's stock. And now it's something that we're starting to get a little bit of price weakness out there, starting to settle, starting to be like, maybe up, maybe down, I don't know. But back to this consolidation pattern on this with a slightly bullish bias, at least as per slightly more up than what we had for down on this one. So the bulls kind of taking that ground, but the bears right now have won the most recent battle by falling out the bottom of this thing. And we need to watch to see if 125 gives way. If it does, we have more pivot lows here at about 120. And then the big pivot low that we had was about 115. And so we're going to be watchful for that. There's the 200-hour SMA there to help catch us right at about that 115 level as well. So about those treats that I was telling you about, well, I talked about Sofi a while back, but I have a treat that I think is up and coming for us. Sofi had its pop, its moment from the descending wedge pattern, getting close to that 200-day. We'll take a look at that chart. And then, well, the final one, man, I don't know. Hopefully you're ready for it. So here we go. So Sofi, SoFi, here's the daily chart on this one. We were in a descending wedge pattern, and from this descending wedge pattern, which mind you, the earnings on July 30th, we actually broke up above the 200-day on strong price action. $8 is going to be where we find significant resistance. Today, we resisted at 782, so we got darn close to it. Where's this previous little peak that we had here? That previous peak is at 743. Let me see this one over here. Where did we peak out? $7.90. And let me see, that one was 782. So we didn't quite overtake this previous one, but the last two highs that we have solidly broken up over those. There could still be bullishness to come for SoFi, especially take a look at that volume. And I do own shares in SoFi. I had some options last week that I took advantage of and capitalized on. 25 to 33% was the range that I was in there for those call options. And if I was to hold on to them for this week, even though I didn't want to sweat the weekend risk, would have done very well for me. So for SoFi, there could still be some upside appreciation yet to come for it leading up to its earnings by July 30th. So now for that big treat. TMF. So take a look at this one. I don't know if you guys can hear the bells or not, but my daughter got bells from her grandfather, and it sounds like it's almost Christmas time. But they're red, white, and blue, so it's fairly patriotic. Now she's giggling in the background. Very cute. So TMF here. Sorry to ice you on this, but we had this resistance line here. We broke up above it. We are near, look at this one. I'll move it all around for you. We are near a golden cross moment between the 200-day and the 50-day simple moving averages that we have on here. So if we get the 50 crossing over the 200, that could be very bullish for us and move us higher on that. So we do have higher lows on this, and you can see that we are getting somewhat lower highs, and we have had some near-term resistance right at the top of this thing, right at about 52.42. So we want to be watchful for that. The next previous high that we had on this thing, $54 per share. I do have a call option out on this. I do have a position in TMF myself, long position in this one. And so this one is one that I'd absolutely love to see appreciate. RSI up over 50. And some things that you want to consider when you look at this. If we look at the US 20-year, and I shared this over at my stock group and Patreon, links down in the description. Like I said, if you want to see my buys and sells, check that out. So if you look at the US 20-year, we are actually just now, as of today, breaking down below this trend line support. Not by a lot, not totally confirmed, but it's a movement that we're currently working on. And if we do continue to drop, that's going to continue to move inversely to TMF's prices, because this is the 20-year yield, and yields move inverse bond prices. And so that 20-year treasury could most definitely push up if this continues to push down. And if we look at the US 10-year treasury yield, this one has already broken out of its consolidation pattern, and it has already retested support, well, formerly support, now is resistance, and we sold back down below that as well. So we want to keep on watching this. And the thing is about dropping treasury yields is, well, for those long-term yields such as the 10-year and the 20-year, it is bullish as they come down a bit. But if they start coming down a lot more and a lot quicker, that's something that could be bearish for the overall markets. Now, mind you, a drop in the 20-year yield, like I said, for TMF is bullish for TMF. And what I was just saying, just to reiterate, is too much of a drop. I'd say down below 4%, or if it happens rapidly, quickly, that could signal a flight to safety with what we have with a move to those treasuries instead of looking at the stocks, for example. And that could be something that could be downward pressure for SPY, QQQ, and in IWM. So the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, and then also the Russell 2000 stocks. I think it would be a very broad market impact if we got that significant sell coming up for us. So TMF, very excited about it. In the near term, we should have a nice little pop coming out of that, hit that golden cross moment, and hopefully we see those 20-year yields continue to drop, because that could be very good for TMF's prices in the near term. So guys, if you wanted to do technical analysis like I do, you can check out the link for that down in the description. Click on that, sign up for the course, and then very small, easily digestible pieces really can take your trading game to the next level, especially through the power of the bread recipe. And I also have a chapter in there on options, so check that out. And then also, if you want to join me over at the Patreon, that link down in the description, see my buys and sells at the Discord, talk to me and my community members. We'd absolutely love to have you over there. I'm going to leave you go for right now. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video. Oh my gosh, I started editing and I realized I never told the cat story. So if you stuck around this long, you actually get the cat story. So cat in the litter box, I can hear him. It's in the office here with me with the studio, setting up to record, and jumps out like a rocket, booked halfway across the room, starts rubbing his butt on the carpet, and I snapped my fingers at him and got a hold of him and did what I had to do as a cat owner to try and save the house and the cat at the same time. And knocked over my trash can in the meantime. And also, I guess he must have bumped my camera because the camera leg ended up in the trash can. So when I picked up the trash can, I knocked over the camera. So then I had to fix the camera because the camera wasn't working. So while I'm trying to fix the camera, the cat, I hear him scratching around. The guy was about to pee on the floor in the bathroom that's in the office. So I ran into the bathroom, grabbed a hold of the cat, moved him back out of there, put him in the litter box. They used the litter box, thank goodness, and then proceeded to go underneath my desk and then started hairball maneuvers, if you will. So it was like the trifecta of bad for like everything going wrong at once. So like bad things coming in threes. And then after I dealt with all that, did all the cleanup that I needed to do, yay, being a pet owner, then I still had to fix my camera. So finally got the camera fixed, was able to record. So a little bit late getting it out to you guys, but hope that you enjoy. And if you have similar pet stories, sure, share those at the stock stuff down in the comments. Love to hear from you. Have a great day, everyone. See ya.